All right, third graders, welcome to our flipped classroom lesson on pictographs. So a pictograph you may have heard called a picture graph, but the correct way that we're going to say that now that we're third graders is pictograph. So let's talk about what is a pictograph. What is it? And so what I've decided to do for your notes today, and remember you can pause this and go back, I just made some bullets. These are important characteristics of a pictograph. These are things that I know that are important when you are making a pictograph. So the first thing is, what is a pictograph? Well, it's a way of showing data using pictures or images. So a way to show the data using pictures or images. It has a key. That's important. It has a key that determines the number of pictures needed to represent each number in a set of data. So without the key, you wouldn't really know what it's representing. You wouldn't know what each picture means or how much it represents. What's the number behind it? Just like a key to unlock your door, it lets you in. It allows you to get access to what's on the other side. So if I don't have a key for my pictograph, I'm not sure what each picture represents. What number does it represent? So key is important. Okay. Also, it needs a table with data that is used to create your pictograph. So before you even make the pictograph, you should have a table with some information or data that allows you to make your pictograph. So I have a table here, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. A title. We always need a title, because without the title, I may be lost in understanding what is this pictograph about. I might be able to make some inferences, use some context clues to figure it out, but I really need a title for my pictograph. And remember, always check your work. I'm going to make sure at the end of this that I went back and checked, because if my table doesn't match my pictograph with the same information, then it's inaccurate. It's wrong. So it's not valid. I have to make sure that the information from my table matches my pictograph. All right? So those are your notes with the important characteristics of a pictograph. Now we're going to move on to how do I make a pictograph? Where do I start? Well, you can gather information and put it in a table. And sometimes that table may be given for you in your math book or on a worksheet. It may be given to you, or even on a website that you're going on to practice making a pictograph. But if you were going to do a survey and find out some information or gather some data, you might want to make a pictograph to represent your data once you've gathered your information. So let's say I'm gathering information on vegetables from our garden. We do have a garden here at school, and we are growing some vegetables, and so I could use this if I wanted to. So let's just pretend that this would be the real data from our garden. So we have three types of vegetables, or kinds of vegetables, that we're growing: green peppers, red peppers, tomatoes. So I have those three kinds listed here in a table. Remember, this is the table. I'm using tally marks as I'm going through the vegetable garden. I have 4 green peppers, 2 red peppers, 5 tomatoes. Okay. Once I come back inside after I finish gathering my information in the garden, then I'm going to make sure that I've put the tally marks over into number form, that I translate it over into number form. So I have 4 tally marks, that's a 4, 2 red peppers, that's a 2, tomatoes, that's 5, so I have the number 5. It just helps me. This was a quick way while I'm in the garden, just getting some tally marks, but then when I come back inside, I'm going to make sure that I've represented that with numbers. Okay, so this is my table. Okay, this is my table that has my information. Remember, again, here from the bullet I drew a line, but that's my table, so I need that to put that into my pictograph. I'm going to use the same title. The title, vegetables from our garden, is going to be the same thing for my pictograph, vegetables from our garden. I'm going to use the same 3 kinds of vegetables: green pepper, red pepper, and tomato. Now this time I didn't put kind of vegetables. I just represented it there by saying what it is or writing what it is. But I have to make sure I have my key. I was looking for the word there in the notes. I have to make sure I have my key. Without the key, I can't unlock it. So what do these circles mean? Well, each circle equals 2 vegetables. I have to be very detailed when I write this in my key so that the person who's trying to unlock or understand the graph or read the graph can understand what each picture represents. What is the number that it represents? So each circle equals 2 vegetables. Okay? So what would half of a circle equal? That's right, 1 vegetable. Now, luckily this is an even number, 2 vegetables, but what if I had a 3? If each circle was 3 vegetables, what would half of a circle be? 1.5. That's right, 1.5 or 1.5. So I kept it easy for today, and I kept it even with 2. So green peppers, I have to look back at my table. I have 4 green peppers, so I have 2 circles, because remember, each circle equals 2. So that's where you have to really be careful when you're looking at your table or your data and looking at your graph that you have it correct. So let's make sure we can count by 2s. 2, 4, 4, and that's correct. So I would not need 4 circles, I would only need 2 circles because each circle equals 2 vegetables. Okay, so this is correct. Red pepper, red pepper is 2, so I have 1 circle because 1 circle equals 2 vegetables. So that's correct. And I'm checking my work as I go. I went ahead and did this ahead of time. So these are really some notes that you can get down if you want to get the table and the chart down for an example. Tomato. Tomato would be 5. Okay, 5 is an odd number. Since I kept this even, I'm going to have a half shown, right? 2, 4, and 1 is 5. So remember, each circle represents 2 vegetables. And so I have 2 circles. So that's 2, and then 4, and then half of 2 is 1. That's 5. Now, if you need to make notes above it when you're checking your work, 2 plus 2 plus, that's 1, equals 5, you can. If you need to do that as you're kind of checking your work. So remember, my last thing was always check your work. And even in this case, even though this was some fun, easy work, I need to go back and check it because my table sometimes may not match my pictograph. And if these 2 don't match, then this is not going to be accurate information. Okay? So it's important that I have represented my information or my data correctly. So this is an example of a pictograph. All right, so on Math is Fun, there's more examples, and I can share the link that has the exact example page on there with your teacher, so we can get that on Nearpod, and we can take it from there. All right, guys, thank you so much.